Okay, so when you're upgrading from an ME to an MX or an M plus to an MX or an M plus plus to an MX, what you want to make sure is to make sure that all the hardware components around the MX will be adaptable to accept the new MX piece of hardware, which is mostly the case, but anyway you need to do your check. So first thing is you need to find out the part number, serial numbers, and take a look at them. So for the first thing that we will check is the chassis. And on the chassis, for example, you want to locate your part number. It looks something like a 500-0280. And for your 500-0280, you want to pay attention to the release part. So you want to make sure that your release is 16A or above. The same for the backplane, for the west term, for the power supply. So for example, the power supply, you want to go locate your power supply part number. And in the case of the power supply, you don't have to worry about the release, as it says in the compatible, all the compatible releases are acceptable for a certain set of part numbers. So from 580-2004 to 580-2007. That's for a VME chassis, where normally the backplane would be connected to the nodes via a ribbon cable. Okay, for a non-VME chassis, what you will need to do is you will need to make sure that again the chassis, the west term, and the power supply, which is where the west term is directly connected to the node in the back of the D20 ME, is basically compatible. So for the chassis, again, you will locate the part number as long as 500-0305 with release 26 or higher, you should be fine. Again, the western part number and the power supply is exactly the same, whether it is the VME or non-VME, as long as 2004 until 2007, it's all compatible and you should be fine. Let's say your chassis is compatible, but the power supply is not. You can also order just the power supply. So later, when I show you the ordering, you can build your ordering upgrade kit the way you really need to build it. Okay, and in this illustration, you can see that there is two serial numbers, one that is 16C, which is compatible with the D20 MX, and the 15C, which is not recommended to be used with the D20 MX. Next, we'll take you through a couple of demonstrations to show you how to identify the products, the different parts of the chassis, and the serial number labels. This is just a guideline. Of course, the document will carry all the tables for compatibility with the D20 MX. Okay, so if you're looking at a VME chassis, the easiest way to recognize that this is a VME versus a non-VME is if you have a ribbon cable. So there is a ribbon cable, it means this is a VME chassis. A VME chassis consists of basically four parts. There's the chassis, your backplane, which is this green PCB here. There is your west term and your power supply, which can be taken out of the chassis if need be. Okay? So first thing you want to check is you want to check the compatibility of the chassis itself. So this chassis carries the number 500-0280 release 16C. According to the compatibility document, we need a 500-0280 release 16A or above. So release 16C will do. So this chassis is compatible with an MX. The next thing that you want to check is the backplane. So this backplane carries the number 5170123 revision 06A. According to the compatibility document, you need a 5170123 revision 3 and above. So this is 6, we're good. This backplane is compatible with a D20 MX. The other part is the West term. So you need to check the West term for the part number, and this might be a little bit tricky because it normally sits behind the power cables, and there is a glass cover on top of it. But if you remove the glass cover, make sure you don't electrify yourself, make sure it's not connected to power, you switch off the power to it. Okay, you will find the part number in here, is 517230. This one has a revision 7D, 07D. So in this case, the West term is compatible because it says as long as it has a 5170-230, all of them, all the releases are compatible. So anyone that carries a 517, but if you have like a 5170-225, something older than release 09, then that plane wouldn't be compatible. So this back plane is compatible. And 90% of the time that's the case. You have a compatible chassis, you have a compatible back plane, a compatible West term. Now as far as the power supply, you can either unplug the power supply from the chassis and look at it, or you can look at it, look at the part number that's written in here. So in this case, my power supply carries the part number 580207. I'm just going to put a power supply in front of you so that you can see it clearer. Okay, so this power supply here has the part number 5802006. That's it, it's compatible. All models of the 5802006, 2005, 2004, and 2007 are compatible. So as long as this number is between 2004 and 2007, then you have a compatible VME chassis. So in this case, we have a D20 ME chassis where all the parts are compatible with an MX. You really don't need to do anything other than removing your ME card, putting in an MX card, and your upgrade is done. This is pin-to-pin compatibility. You don't need rewiring, nothing. You just remove your ME card, put in an MX card, and the job of upgrade is done. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the VME chassis that may not be, it's not recommended that you use it with an MX. In this case, the VME chassis carries the part number 500-0305 revision 4A. According to our tables, 500-0305 requires revision 26 and above, so revision 4A is not compatible. Another thing, it carries a 5170123 West term with the revision 1B, and it requires revision of release 3 or higher. So this West term PCB is also not compatible. And the power supply in this case is 5800240, and we require a 5802004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. So also this power supply is not compatible, so it's not recommended to use this chassis, West term, and power supply with a D20MX. You would need to replace all the parts with a new D20MX with the D20MX built into it from the factory. Alright, so in this demonstration we're going to show you a non-VME chassis, but it's compatible with the MX. So in this case, this is a non-VME chassis. This is how it looks like. The easy way to recognize a non-VME chassis, there wouldn't be a ribbon cable in here. So no ribbon cable. The West term is directly on the back of the chassis. That tells you it's a non-VME, which means it can accommodate only one card, one D20MX card or one D20ME card. For this one, the first thing you need to check or identify is the chassis. So this chassis carries the number 500-0305, sorry, and revision number 28A. According to our document, 500-0305 with revision 26 and above is compatible. So this one is 28A, that means it is compatible. Now we go to the Western. It carries the part number 5170224, and in this case this is revision 20. According to our compatibility document, it says revision 15 and above should be compatible. So in this case, this Western is compatible. Now, as far as the power supply, this power supply is 580-2006, and as long as it is a 580-2004, 2005, 2006, or 2007, this power supply is compatible. So in this case, we've got a compatible chassis, compatible Western, and a compatible power supply. All you need to do is take out the ME or the M++ card and stick in your MX card, and that's it. It works. Okay, so we want to show you an example of a non-VME chassis that's not compatible with your D20 MX, and the only way to identify it is using the serial number. So in this case, the serial number, the part number of this one is 500-0305-25A. Now, according to our document, it says 500-0305-26 and above. So this one, because it has the revision 25A, then it's not compatible with the MX. Also, the Western on this one carries the number 5170224, release 14, and our release needs to be 15 and above, so this Western is not compatible. And the power supply in this case carries the part number 5800240. Now, that's none of our power supplies. So our power supplies that are compatible is either a 580-2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. So in this case, the power supply is not compatible. So in this case, it's recommended to buy the full chassis with an MX card. You cannot just swap the MX card into this chassis and take out the older card. So you would need to replace the entire chassis in this case. Okay, so when you have finished checking your chassis and you have finished checking all the parts of it, the chassis, the Western, the backplane, if applicable, the modem, the next thing is to check your peripherals. Most likely your peripherals are compatible, but it helps to check the WSDAC, the Western of the peripheral, if there is a second daughter card for second communication, and P-common. So for the WSDAC of the analog board is going to be a 5110101, and you want to make sure that it's release 21 or higher. For a Western is going to be 5170163 or 5170178. For a second D.20 card, you want to make sure that it's a 5400207. And from a P-common, and those can be replaced, and you can order the right P-common from the factory. You've got version 301, 305, 306, and 300. For the digital input card, your WSDAC have to be a 5070101, release 18 or higher. Your Western 5170165, all of them are compatible. Your D.20 card is 5400207, and for the P-common again is 300, 301, 305, and 306 are compatible. For your digital output, your WSDAC will be 5080101 and release 17 or higher. Your Western is going to be 5170164 and 5400207, and of course the P-common is the same. It's 300, 301, 305, and 306. For the combination card, the WSDAC is a 500002, release 20 or higher. The Western is a 5170180, and for the second D.20 card, it will be 5400209. The P-common 2, not a P-common in the case of a C board, it will be version 300 and version 305 are compatible with the MX. Finally, for your AC card or D20 AC card, The part number is a 511-0106, and your Western part number is 517-0370, and with a second daughter card of 540-0207. And in this case, you have a boot or a P boot, and the part number is 102, 103, and 104 are compatible with the Amex board.